It's human to go through challenges, but know that you will get through them. So you're going through. You're not staying, you're going through.
It's human not to know. We all have to go back. We all have to start at kindergarten, oftentimes, many times a day, but it's okay.
It's human to seek pleasure and to struggle.
It is human to simultaneously feel joy for someone else and grief for yourself.
Is there trauma that has been inherited because of gender or race or underdiagnosed issues or undiagnosed issues? What does this mean? Is this the case? And how do we start healing the things we don't necessarily see every day?
Absolutely. That inherited piece we call intergenerational trauma. So you can imagine there's a moment of historical trauma that's slavery, genocide of indigenous peoples, Japanese internment camps, the Holocaust. And the folks that survived that, they didn't get to heal.
Right.
And often those harms that happened to them didn't even get acknowledged. But they survived. And then they raise kids, but they've been traumatized, and it comes through in their own parenting. It comes through in the way that they manage their emotions. It comes through in the way that their genetic code gets expressed.
Mm-hmm.
And so that happens generation after generation of generation. Unacknowledged harm that repeats, lives in the body, lives in relationships, lives in the mind.
We're healing from decades and decades of mistrust, distrust, experimentation, isolation, violence, abuse, discrimination. The list goes on and on. What are some ways that maybe we can help stop that cycle or maybe release some of the pain for our next generation?
One of the most important ways that we begin to heal is to acknowledge what has happened. All of those historical harms have impacted all of us, actually. How do we treat trauma for the child who's still being abused, right? We usually want to remove them from that situation, and that is not the case for us right now. And so I think it's also why we can't heal this alone. We really need accomplices of all backgrounds to be in on this, making changes and fighting and healing themselves, because we've all been impacted by this. You can't be a bystander to abuse and not be impacted, right? So, but when it comes to Black and Brown folks in the community healing from all of that, I think, again, it happens when we are together in community. It happens by attending to our bodies and how, trauma, the body keeps the score, right? It's in that body. So what are we doing? Healing practices. And it shows up in our body with all those, the health outcomes that we're having.
I found that with depression, one of the most important things you could realize is that you're not alone.
After years of going through a lot of different things, I realized that I was bipolar. And so when I go to know more information, it actually helps me. It doesn't scare me once I know it.
I found myself checking into a treatment center for depression.
You're not the first to go through it. You're not gonna be the last to go through it. And oftentimes it happens. You feel like you're alone, and you feel like it's only you, and you're in your bubble. And I wish I had someone at that time who could just pull me aside and, hey, it's gonna be okay.
It's a birthright, but it's been stolen from Black boys and men, that they get to hurt and ache and be afraid.
And that is, the how of getting to the Black pain, the Black male pain. The pain is so overwhelming by that. And I often say too, when you get in crisis, you don't have a team around you that has your back when things get rough, that's not going to leave you nor forsake you, and that can give you the advice to say, Court, be quiet. Court, don't say anything. Court, straighten up your shirt. If you don't have a team in place at that time, it really is too late.
And so we want the truth to be in the world for Black boys and Black men, that it is their, not just birthright, but their divine birthright to have their holes like everyone else, to be broken and whole all in the same breath. And so it's important, particularly with Black boys and men who have been pathologized and demonized. One of the most important gifts that we can give to a young person or give to someone who is older and struggling is to not be a know-it-all. And we miss out, and parents miss out, because when you want to know everything and you want to instruct your children, to instruct someone that you haven't been willing to listen to is, it's not just painful, it's dangerous. It's dangerous to think that you can help someone that you don't know. And what we know is that silence is not always golden. Silence can be deadly. And this is what, the key gift you can give someone is a soft, safe place to fall. A soft, safe place. You don't have to know the answers, because guess what? You're not going to know them. If you have a child or a partner who comes to you and says, I don't want to live, you're probably not going to know what to say. But what you could say is, I'm so glad you told me. I'm so grateful that you're telling me that something is sitting on your soul and your life force. And I'm going to sit here with you and we will figure out together.
At this point, when we're talking about PTSD, we can no longer just say post-traumatic stress disorder. We have to say it's persistent traumatic stress disorder. Because persistently within the society, we're continuously placing obstacles in the way of the most marginalized communities. We're continuously placing obstacles in the way of those that have been disenfranchised for generations in different forms of the word. Right? And that persistent traumatic stress disorder, that the weakening of the foundation of our nation, will be the greatest challenge that America has to overcome.
Tokenism is a very lonely, disparaging feeling. I actually was just having a conversation with a friend of mine who's also a provider And we had a conversation about what it really looks like to be forced to sit in racism and the effects that it has on one's mental health. We added mental health because what we know is that COVID was going on. And as we started having conversations with women in obstetrics and gynecology, I was seeing something way different. And that was Black women were coming through the door, and because they were feeling safe in our space, they were asking for help. They were saying to us, this is too much. I cannot function. I don't want to get out of bed. I'm having difficulty with my regular activities of daily living. I'm having difficulty at work. I'm worried I'm going to lose my job, and I need help. And that was just something that we hadn't experienced before in our systems. And so that's why we added mental health. This is the first office visit for a lot of women in over 20 years because they didn't trust the system. And now they get to walk into a space that's dedicated strictly for them. And they get to see someone that looks like them from the beginning to the end. And so now what we're recognizing is that we're needed, like we said, in beyond specialties. What we know is in pediatrics, I think less than 1% of pediatricians are Black. And we're seeing as they're coming into us and having conversations saying, I want my child to be able to have the same experience. So now we know we're needed in pediatrics. So from here, it's just up for us. It's growth. It's upward, it's onward, and it's action steps and meeting the needs of our community.